There is a spacious quality of perception. The nature of the mind is actually this kind of sky-like open space in which all this complexity arises, but no amount of clouds obscure the sun. No amount of clouds actually damage the sky. This is like the sky-like nature of mind and this fresh immediacy. There's an immediacy to that quality.
I'm Michael Max, and this is Qiological, the podcast that curates East Asian medicine and methods through the power of conversation. In case you haven't noticed, the Tao is subtle, slippery, and downright tricky. Things change into their opposites, which is a nice idea until it happens to you. If the past few years have not upset or upended you in some way, then I want your phone number because I've got a few questions, and I suspect that you might have some perspective. I've found over the past few years that my thinking on a number of different fronts, it's changed. Changed in ways that I found unsettling to my sense of who I think I am, and curious in that I've gained some capacity to be more inquisitive about disparate points of view than I previously could. Often enough to go forward, there are things that need to be left behind. It's not just that what got us to here will not get us to there, but what's more, it will actively prevent that transformation. We are here on the threshold of the wood dragon year and about to burst into the phase of wood after 2 years of watery disassemble. What will you take forward into the growth energies of wood? And what will you leave behind in the watery depths? Often enough, I make a list of things that I want to pack for a journey. This wood dragon year, though, I'm making a list of what not to bring along. I want to make sure that the arising dragony wood energy is not fueling what needs to be left behind. Here's what I'm leaving behind and the reason for doing so. First, dismissing people I don't understand or like as crazy or stupid, because dismissal is the opposite of engagement, and good luck getting anywhere productive without some engagement. Second, leaning on sarcasm as a dopamine release mechanism. The problem for me with sarcasm is that it leaves me thinking that I'm better or more virtuous than those that I'm putting down. And finally, using nostalgia as a defense against emerging social trends, because it's difficult to clearly understand today's problems with the inertia of yesterday's lived experience. How about you? What favorite indulgence would you like to liberate and leave behind as we strap into the energies of the wood dragon? I used to think it's strange that the Chinese New Year, aka the Spring Festival, began in the very midst of winter cold. But the ancient Chinese, they knew that all beginnings happen in the dark, that there is a period of arising that begins before our senses perceive. So the equinoxes and solstices, they are not the beginning of a season, but rather flourishing manifestations of it. It's a helpful reminder that the turnings of nature include what's seen and what's as yet unseen in the process of coming into being. Of course, there are hints and signs if you have the wherewithal to perceive. These have been mapped through the interlocking cycles of the heavenly stems and earthly branches that points towards tendencies and potentials. These are celestial maps that help us to orient to the interplay of yin and yang. In this conversation with Gregory Done, we investigate the symbols and influences of the wood dragon year. We are leaving 2 years of yang and yin water and about to enter into a new 10-year cycle, which, not surprisingly, begins with the arising of wood. And this year, with the expansive and wild card energy of the dragon. Rabbity water is about to explode outward into dragony wood. What's in store? Stay with us and find out. These conversations come to you through the generous support of our sponsors and members. Blue Poppy, your new one-stop shop, has speedy shipping options on everything that you need for your clinic. It's Women's Health Month at Mayway Herbs. Check out their new website for learning resources on helping women with herbal medicine. Are you a creature of habit? How about making a change that helps your patients and the planet with AccuFast needles? And later in the show, raising your fees doesn't have to be a difficult process. Jane has helpful suggestions on making it easy and effective. And finally, have you considered that having a thriving, profitable practice is one of the most healing things that you can do? Julie Bear Don't Walk has, and she can help you do something about it too. Do be sure to visit the sponsors page on the Qiological website to take advantage of all the special offers our terrific sponsors have for listeners of the podcast. Picture this. Your clinic is buzzing with patients, and then you realize that you're down to your last box of needles. No need for panic, because Blue Poppy, your one-stop shop for all your acupuncture needs, they ship orders received before 3 p.m. on the same day. With a quick visit to Blue Poppy's website, you can order premium needles, herbal formulas, and that special Dr. Bob's oil that your patients love. Blue Poppy understands practitioners can't keep patients waiting. That's why they strive to get you what you need when you need it. From high-quality Chinese herbs and formulations to acupuncture supplies and clinical essentials, Blue Poppy has served practitioners for nearly 40 years with products that meet the highest of standards. Discover everything Blue Poppy has to offer by visiting www.bluepoppy.com, and don't forget to subscribe to their mailing list for exclusive offers and more.
Hi folks, I'm Yvonne Lau, president of Mayway Herbs. May is Women's Health Month, and as a women-owned and women-run business, we especially love how Chinese medicine can support wellness through every stage of a woman's life. So in this month's newsletter and podcast, we're covering topics like PMS, pregnancy, menopause, and osteoporosis. We'll share expert insights and effective treatment strategies you can put to good use in your clinic. Our Plumflower brand line includes herbal tea pills, tablets, extract granules, and organic herbs, all of which you can find on Mayway.com, and where you can also find articles, videos, and other resources to support your practice. Since 1969, Mayway has been a trusted source for high-quality herbal products. In these challenging times, please know that we remain committed to keeping our products accessible and affordable so you can take care of yourself and your patients. As always, thank you for supporting Real Chinese Medicine.
Daily habits and routines feel comforting, familiar, easy, automatic. That's the power of repetition. You've worked out the kinks and can do it with your eyes closed. But what if you shook things up? What if you ditched the old routine and tried something new? Hi, I'm John Sten. I've practiced acupuncture for over 30 years, and together with my wife Kelly, we created the world's first eco-friendly acupuncture needle. The AccuFast earth-friendly needle system cuts your packaging waste by 60 to 90%, depending upon your needle type, speeds up your needling, gives you more control, and best of all, while you're healing patients, we plant a tree for every 2 boxes your clinic uses. Thousands of acupuncturists have already made the switch. In just the last year, they've helped plant over 16,000 trees. Since we started, that number has grown to over 50,000. So break the routine. Be the change. Visit AccuFastNeedles.com. Your patients and the planet will thank you.
Gregory Done, welcome back to Qiological.
Michael, glad to be back. Thanks for having me. Excited to be back.
Happy New Year, Xinyan Kuai Le.
Yes, Happy New Year to you as well.
We're coming up to the Wood Dragon. Gregory, for a number of years now, as you probably know, has been writing this fantastic, I know you've called it a blog, but for me, it's more like I'm not even sure how to describe it. It's like a little glimpse into the year, but it's not so little. It's like pages and pages, and you go very deep into your Polestar astrology background, and you look at the symbolism and the chi dynamics and the manifestations. And, it's not like, oh, Wood Dragon, good time to start projects. It's like Wood Dragon, rocket boosters. Some really interesting ways of talking about things. And where I'd like to begin is with the water rabbit, which, as we record this, we're at the very tail end of it. It was roughly this time last year that we sat down and had a conversation about the coming year. I remember you saying, oh yeah, the water rabbit, it's like Alice in Wonderland, but very, very weird. And I'm thinking, Alice in Wonderland, but very, very weird? It's like, how the hell much more weird are you going to get? And here's what happened. We get right into the water rabbit, and what's the first big news, big thing that comes out? Chat GPT. It was like within days, right?
Yeah, it's been a weird year, that's for sure. I didn't quite expect everything that happened, and I had no idea what was going to happen. I just knew some big, really interesting and very watery. When we talk about what makes something watery, it's hard to grasp in terms of its dimensions, its borders, boundaries, edges, definitions. It escapes and eludes all those things, and it becomes pervasive. And it's also deeply emotional. So we've been in 2 years of water, yang water and yin water, in the form of the tiger and rabbit. And it's also important to note that that's the end then of the 10-year cycle of the heavenly stems. So we're kind of at the end of that 10-year cycle, and we've been in the kind of darkness of the water element for the past 2 years, and a lot has come up. And I think the deep emotional quality has weighed very heavily on people. And then in this year, like you've mentioned, we've had a lot of things come forward and a lot of things happen. I think surprised people because people were expecting the rabbit to be peaceful and tranquil. And in a way it was. Like, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people said that despite everything crazy that seems to be happening, their life was pretty peaceful, but dark and challenging. I heard from a lot of people that it was one of the hardest years of their life, despite not a lot happening in their own life, just a lot of these big changes they see in the world. And ChatGPT is a really great example, and the arrival of something like artificial intelligence. One, because it's going to change everything, especially because it's advanced so fast that we don't even know what it is and what to do with it. And a lot of people are, I think, worried, and probably rightly so. There's a book called The Precipice. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
So it's about existential risk to human beings. And the author ranks artificial intelligence as the number one existential risk to human beings. Climate change is like 100.
Really? It's not human beings? I thought the most dangerous existential risk to humans was other humans.
Oh, well, yeah, we're our own worst enemy for sure. But so here it is. Yeah, it arrived.
And so watery. When I first heard about that, what I first did was remember back to the late 80s, early 90s, probably late 80s, when Photoshop first came out. And the whole thing was, oh my God, you're never going to be able to trust a photograph again. Well, now we have AI. Are you ever going to be able to trust anything again?
Yeah.
How do you know that reel that you just saw on TikTok was not just the algorithm's own creation of something for a certain audience that likes that, right? And then, of course, you got the propagandists who are going to take it and use it in whatever ways that they want to. But again, it's that very watery, what is real kind of thing that really made me think Water Rabbit.
Absolutely.
When it first came out, I thought, we're in for a hell of a ride.
Yes, and so intelligence and communication are themes of the rabbit, and information, the way that we perceive and digest it. So yeah, the social aspect too of the rabbit, I think, is where something like artificial intelligence, we're going to see a lot of changes. Of course, it's going to evolve over the years, but again, we want to think about things in terms of how rabbit influenced our reception of it, perception of it, and the kind of launch of it in a way. Because a lot of how things progress has a lot to do with how they start. So you could say something like, well, ChatGPT has been around for a while, but the current version, you could say it's a water rabbit because it was born in that year. So artificial intelligence in the form of things like, chatbots, which are every company is probably going to have one. Every operating system, the internet's going to be pervaded with bots that are indistinguishable from humans. You could talk to them and you could never tell that it's not a person. People are going to have relationships with them. It's going to change interpersonal dynamics between people in such a way that it's going to make, exactly like you said, understanding what's real, what's true, what's fake, very, very difficult. And I think that is going to deeply affect how our society moves forward in ways that we can't imagine. And next year, we'll see how it turns into dragon. So again, something I want to focus on here is then how does all these things that we're going to talk about then change and shift as we get into the dragon year?
As we get into the dragon, exactly. The other thing that came up for me was, I think it was on October the 9th, I thought, it was surprising to me because it was just a couple days after the attacks on the Israeli citizens. And all of a sudden we're seeing how, it's Israel's fault. All of a sudden we're seeing not that, oh my God, something horrific happened and what can we do? But it's the fault of the people who received the punishment. I mean, regardless of where you stand on that, horrible things happened. And to me, it was so rabbity that very quickly there's all these other narratives and stories. And, you talk about how the rabbit's very cliquey and kind of dark and insular. And so you get all these groups, and all the groups are doing their little group thing. And kaboom, it's out all over the place. But, again, and I don't want to, I'm not interested in talking politics, but to be able to see something happen like we witnessed. And I'm scratching my head going, how do I make sense of this? And it's like, oh, that's right, water rabbit year. There's all this deep, dark, ghosty sort of stuff. This is a situation that's been going on over there for, you can draw your own timeline on how long you want to say it's been going on. You can go from 50 years to 5,000 years, and they're all valid timelines. So that really made an impact on me, thinking about what we're seeing with the unfolding, not just of the attacks, but of the protests and everything.
Yes.
It's being a very, very watery, rabbity kind of thing.
Yes, it's very challenging to talk about, but because it is so emblematic of the year, it is definitely worth touching on and worth looking at and examining through the lens of the rabbit. The nature of the situation is, of course, incredibly complex, and it's got a very long and complicated history. And we're seeing the unfolding of it in a lot of different ways. So first, I think it may be helpful just to look at what's rabbity about the situation starting on October 7th and how we can understand not just the nature of that, but also to understand this through the rabbit symbol, looking at it first, just what's rabbity about the attack itself. Of course, it was a sneak attack. One group, a smaller group that is hidden, sneaking up on a bigger group, attacking it, and then running away. And that is kind of how a rabbit war or a rabbit attack might look. A lot of people thought, the rabbit year, again, is very peaceful and you wouldn't expect something like war to happen. But war can happen in any year, and it can happen through any of these astrological influences. What does war look like in a rabbit sense? What does war look like from the dragon point of view? What does war look like from the snake point of view, the horse point of view, and so on? And the rabbit, of course, was all about, again, safety and security. That it will do anything to secure itself and to secure its own resources, to secure its own sense of family and personal identity. And we see that on both sides, of course. So, the attack itself, which in my teacher, Liu Ming, used to say that rabbits, he said, watch out for the hind legs of the rabbit, meaning that there's a darkness in the rabbit that we don't see in any of the other signs, and that's a kind of viciousness, a kind of revenge, and a kind of brutal quality that, especially with the influence of water. So, of course, we see that with the brutality and the viciousness of that attack on that day itself, and then what caused that and the complexity of the situation behind it is another story. Then in terms of the response, we see the same thing. We see then the vicious hind legs of Israel striking back as well. And you've heard a lot on that side, their desire to create safety, their desire to create security, their desire to protect their people. And that's also a very rabbity response. As well, on both sides, we see these two different narratives happening, two different stories that are very personal and all about safety, security, identity. And it's been profound to see how it's been received and how it's unfolded in the media, how it's been portrayed in the media. And we see the element of the water rabbit happening in a lot of different ways in terms of the media coverage and for lack of a better word, propaganda, which is now a very negative term. I don't think it was negative when it first was conceived, but it's essentially, trying to convince one side of the validity of a particular point of view through kind of convincing. And we've seen a really complex social dynamic happen in terms of both protesting, but also online, because none of us are there. All we're getting is a picture through the media. Our model of reality is given to us through the media. We don't have a kind of bird's eye or a God's eye view of what's actually happening.
So yes, Gregory, you talk about that we get our images through the media, and mostly we do. I would say that images through the media have been used for propaganda ever since we've had media, ever since humans have sat down and told stories to each other, ever since we've had disagreements, ever since two people got together and tried to get something accomplished, and you're trying to convince the other person that you're right. It could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be people with a different political leaning or different religious leaning for that matter. I mean, think of all the religious wars that we've had all throughout time, because, there's one true God by God, and we know which one it is. So there's that. One of the things that you talk about in your writing for this, and you've alluded to this with the watery time that we've been in, is the exorcism of ghosts.
Yes.
Right? You talked about the water rabbit as a very ghosty time, and that it's an opportunity. I remember reading this last year. You said, well, the water rabbit year is an opportunity to be dead. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, just to kind of come apart.
Yes.
Decompose. And you talk about exorcising ghosts. I suspect in some ways, and I know it's true for me, that this water rabbit year has been an opportunity to look inside, look at some of my own ghosts, look at some of my own beliefs, many of them really uninvestigated. There's all kinds of things. I don't think I'm alone in this, but I'm just going to speak personally because I don't know about other people. But for myself, I have found in this water rabbit year that there's a lot that I have believed that I didn't realize that I believed. And there's a lot that I've taken on and lived my life through without ever really examining it very closely, without ever really thinking about it. And so this watery rabbit year has been an opportunity to recognize some things that, this really isn't me, and let it go. And likewise, aspects of myself that I didn't really think were core or that important, but, oh my goodness, that's my bones. I didn't realize it was my bones. So in some ways, it's been clarifying in that, like you were saying, I think exorcism's a great word, taking out what's not really you.
Yes.
And then seeing what remains. So I've got some appreciation for the rabbit year, weird as it's been.
Yeah.
For that kind of, I wanted to say clarity, but it's more kind of disintegration. And now there's these like clean white bones, and you know what the clean white bones are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the kind of portal of the water rabbit, as I mentioned last year, is like being being dead. And what does that mean? Yin water. And then to go through it, through the symbol of the rabbit, which is all about this kind of subterranean and what we find down there. And often we don't know. But last year was a deeply internalizing energy. And even if you weren't paying attention, there's a lot of stuff coming up. And a lot of that stuff is things we inherit, whether that's from ancestors, from our own past lives, from whatever they are. We can call them ghosts. They're all down there, and it's all in there. And it's amazing how subtle and yet profound they can be in terms of how they run our lives. These kinds of, whether it's a like deep kind of emotional drives or stories that we inherit.
Mm-hmm. Stories that we inherit. That's been the big one for me this year. Like decomposing. I was going to say deconstructing. I mean, deconstructing is a whole other thing. hasn't been deconstructing for me. It really has felt like decomposing. So I'm different now than I was at the beginning of the rabbit era. And we've got these new influences that are going forward into the wood dragon. Wood dragon? I mean, the dragon is kind of wood anyway. Isn't it like emblematically a wood creature?
Its natural element is actually earth, yang earth.
Oh, is it? It's young earth.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did I think it was spring? Anyway, okay, so I stand corrected on that. But regardless, we're coming into the wood dragon. So unless you've got anything else to say about the wascally wabbit, then let's move into this new dragon.
Yes, and the transition is important to talk about as well. So how does a rabbit turn into a dragon?
Yeah, that's a damn good question.
And how does a tiger turn into a rabbit, turn into a dragon, turn into a snake? How each one turns into the next is important. And the rabbit is kind of like is between the tiger and the dragon, which are two very powerful, very young, very aggressive, kind of ferocious looking symbols. And then you've got the rabbit in between them. And the rabbit is kind of like the heart of the dragon. And again, rabbit year is very internalizing. It's very introspective. It's all about understanding again all these feelings that we hold in our heart. And it's like again a deep feeling quality to the year, and again all about that sense of security and safety and making things safe. Because the rabbit is extremely passionate, and it's extremely intelligent, and it's extremely emotional symbol, and it is fully realized in the dragon. So everything that is inside and internal, in the deepest hopes, the deepest aspirations, the deepest feelings of the rabbit come out in the form of the dragon. But the rabbit has to be made safe, it has to be made secure, and it has to be made to feel empowered in order to do that. I think last year I mentioned the image of so the tiger and the rabbit, their natural element is wood, yang wood, and yin wood. The yang wood in the tiger is the energy of the of spring. That's the first moon, and that's the energy of the sprout bursting out of the seed, and the energy of the chicken breaking out of the egg. And the rabbit is then the exposed sprout. It's vulnerable, and it wants to thrive. It wants to grow into the mighty oak, but it's vulnerable, and it has to be protected. So the rabbit is all about getting that precious core protected so that it can thrive. And then when it does, it turns into the dragon. So everything that is inherent in the rabbit, but held back and shy, vulnerable, unsure, tentative, expresses and blooms into the dragon, then it comes out full force as this kind of rainbow, and especially in the form of the wood dragon. So elementally, we've got some interesting dynamics, because dragon's nature is earth, yang earth, and it's a symbol of the emperor in Chinese cosmology. We can talk about the nature of the symbol, which is very difficult to actually talk about because it's defined by being ineffable. And we can get back to that, but the outer element, again, is yang wood, which, again, we've talked about in the form of the tiger. That's the native element, or the inner element of the tiger, and it's the outer element of this year. So it's this year as well has that kind of chicken bursting out of the egg, and this is the image of the baby dragon bursting out of the cosmic egg and flying up into the heavens, flying into the universe. And we're coming out of that water. So we've been in this kind of deep, dark, watery place, full of ghosts, full of visions, full of all this social, intense, conflicting social dynamics. And then what we're coming into is this just explosive energy bursting out of the egg and bursting out of that darkness. So the yin water of death is this just dark abyss, and the wood dragon is like this just flash bulb going off in the dark. It's like if you see like a dark stadium, like and somebody takes a picture with a flash and it lights up the whole stadium, or fireworks going off. I mean, this is the kind of energy we're coming into, is just a dark, empty, dark sky, nothing, and all of a sudden fireworks going off, or all of a sudden this big flash of light, a kind of big explosive boom of light, and it's kind of blinding.
Well, I'll tell you, a flash of light sounds very reassuring right about now.
Yeah, it's been so dark that this is like, it's going to be a welcome energy, I think. So something I would like to emphasize about the wood dragon is, one, like it's against the baby dragon. It's this enlivening, refreshing, illuminating energy. It's a very simple energy. The rabbit, on the other...
A simple energy?
Yes, yeah. The rabbit is a very complex, very complicated, deep, again, so many interesting things we can talk about in terms of all the social dynamics and all these, like the gossipy nature of the rabbit makes it very complex. But the wood dragon is very powerful, but deceptively simple in the sense that it's just this kind of creative, wiggling energy that's just new. It's just coming into being. It's just being born, and its energy again is the yang earth, or we can talk about yang earth and yang wood and the relationship between those two and what that means. But again, it's just this energy exploding up into the heavens, taking flight, and it's again the baby dragon. So it is trying to understand itself and its own power and its own, because it doesn't know, like the dragon is in theory the biggest and most powerful of all the signs, and the baby dragon doesn't know it's big. It doesn't know, it's just learning that it can fly. It doesn't know where it is. It's exploring, it's wiggling, it's flying free just to explore and find its own limits, find its own boundaries. And so that energy is fresh, but it's naive, it's childlike, and it doesn't know its own strength.
So there's kind of an innocence to it?
Yes, yeah. It's like, imagine just like a toddler just learning how to walk, how to run. The image I use is there's an old cartoon called Baby Huey, I think, where it's like a giant baby duckling.
That's an old cartoon.
It's old, but I don't know if anybody will remember that one. But I think the point of the cartoon is that it doesn't know its own strength because it's a baby, but it's huge. So it's like it's just playing, it's just trying to be playful, but then it just can break things, destroy things, make a mess. So that's the kind of energy I think the wood dragon represents. And it's explorative, and it's also joyous. And the name in Chinese is the laughing dragon. That's what it's called. So I've titled the blog "The Laughter of the Universe." It's got a kind of like, it's like a joyous and expansive. So the nature of yang wood and yang earth in the form of the dragon represents breaking away from earth. It represents flight. But it also is a kind of symbol of, at least in Chinese medicine, we know the stomach and of digestion and of the fires of digestion. It's like a devouring energy, wanting to devour life, wanting to devour experience. And yang wood controls earth. So therefore it's kind of like, when we talk about wood controlling earth from an energetic point of view, it's like the sprouts or the roots of that sprout breaking up and aerating and the cold, dark, damp earth, breaking it up, making it light, filling it with, nutrients. And so it takes the heaviness of earth and it breaks it up, and it makes it a much more light and much more of a joyous kind of energy. And it's, again, very expansive. And so it's a very different year. It's going to be a kind of a intense shift. And I think it's going to be a very welcome change, because we've been in this dark tunnel for a long time. And it's the question of next year is,
well, this dark, watery tunnel, it's been very claustrophobic.
Yes,
in a sense. And what I hear you saying now is we're going to have the exact opposite of that.
Yes.
There's a lightness. Oh, right. There's an innocence.
Yes.
There's this new thing that isn't even sure what it is. So it sounds to me, this is how I describe entrepreneurs. I got this thing, it's new, I'm not sure what it is yet, but it's something, all right?
Yeah.
And it can change the world. That's how entrepreneurs go about things.
Yes.
That's how they think, right? They're not thinking about money mostly. Well, I need money so I can do the thing, but they're not doing the thing to make money, right?
Yes.
They're doing it because I got this idea. I got this thing. I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to find out. Let's make it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it could be a very good year to maybe start a business or be an entrepreneur or, like really work on your practice in some ways.
Potentially, yeah.
It could be really helpful for that, yeah?
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. There's the year is kind of a wild card. So in the blog, I talk about it being a kind of wild card year, or like a joker. It's a bit of it's an unknown. And the question of the year is, what do we do with it? When you've been in this, like entrenched in this dark cycle and everything gets bogged down and there's so much emotion and so much, so many stories. And then all of a sudden you just get slapped in the face, or you get cold water thrown on you, or you you get like a loud bang noise behind you. It's that kind of a startling wake up, kind of refreshing energy, just like starting over. Maybe all those things just disappear. They will probably come back, but there's a kind of like what is that like all year? Like, what if we have a whole year of just this flash bulb going off and blinding, or the lights being turned on suddenly, or, this bell being rung. And that's this kind of expanding, opening, enlivening kind of energy that's strong. So we talk about the dragon, we can get into talking about the symbol of the dragon. And again, it's ineffable. That's the whole point of the dragon, because we know what a rat is, we know what an ox is, we know what a pigs and monkeys and goats, because those are in theory real animals. We know what those are, so we can talk about their qualities. But the dragon is the only one that's in theory not real. Some people might think they used to be real, or that in the Chinese view they do exist, but they're kind of hidden, and they are controlling the weather, they're controlling the water, they are behind great storms and floods and things like that. They represent the kind of raw power of nature.
Yeah, I was going to say they're forces of nature.
A force of nature. Yeah, so all the great forces of nature that we see, whether it's great winds, so that's like the different elements, whether it's a volcano, it's like the fire dragon, or a great hurricane, or a great flood, or a great rain, or things like that. That's what the dragon kind of represents, these big forces of nature. And they're beautiful, and we are in awe of nature, but we have to respect the destructive power of it. And we don't think that's evil. There's no evil in a flood. There's no
evil in a flood, but as a human being, there can be a ton of suffering.
Absolutely. So that's the weird dynamic. While we have to respect the power of nature, because it can cause a tremendous amount of suffering. But I think it's hard to get, and we can project, and we do project a lot of things into those kinds of forces, but inherently it's just that's nature, and that's the universe we live in. So what do we do when we're contending with this kind of energy? Because there's a cruelty to nature from a human point of view, right? From the destructive nature of it. Because if you build a home and it burns down or gets lost in a flood, it's hard not to feel like you're being punished, or that's a cruel act of nature.
This episode is brought to you by Jane, the clinic management software that honestly just makes running a practice easier. Let's dive into something that's never easy, but sometimes necessary. Raising your fees. It can feel awkward, right? But here's a tip that can really help. Consider offering flexibility to your patients as you introduce the change. When patients face new fees, it's natural for them to feel uncertain or concerned. That's where flexibility can really make a difference. Offering options like a phased increase, suggesting a payment plan, or even taking a moment to talk things through can help to ease the transition. These thoughtful gestures show your patients that you're listening and care about them, which strengthens the trust you've worked so hard to build. If you're looking for more ideas on how to navigate these kinds of changes, head to frontdesk.jane.app and check out the article, How to Tell Clients You're Raising Your Fees. One last thing, if you're ready to give Jane a try, you can use the code Qiological for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. Yeah, here's the other thing about nature. And maybe this is just me getting old and being crabby or something. Nature's beautiful. Nature's awesome. And it's glorious. And it's also out to kill us.
Yeah.
And no, I'm serious. I'm dead serious about this. It's out to kill us, and one day it will.
Absolutely.
So it's this incredible thing that we are born into and a part of. What an incredible opportunity to be a human being and have a human life. And especially in our profession, we often glorify nature. Oh, nature, it's so amazing. And it's amazing, and it will kill you. Let's not forget that part of it is also there, along with the incredible glory of everything that can unfold out of a human life.
Yes, absolutely. The nature of the dragon as a force of nature is that's like a kind of profound contemplation for the year in terms of the reality. Yeah, the reality of nature, like not the idealization of it, because all the Chinese medicine is based on understanding the forces of nature, and then how the human body and our health and well-being is an expression of that that's deeply integrated into it, kind of microcosm and macrocosm. But yeah, nature is full of all kinds of things that from the human lens do appear to can be cruel. There's a lot of death. Everything is eating everything else. Everything's just trying to survive. And then again, the force of nature, like hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, it doesn't care for human civilization. We do our best to prevent and work with those forces, but we're at the mercy of them to a degree. And that's the energy of the year. We're at the mercy of the energy of the dragon. So how do we deal with that? How do you ride a flood? How do you parasail in a hurricane? But the wood dragon is, again, it's a kind of refreshing. So what its potentially destructive power is one that's clearing and making way for new things. And it's like a restart. It's like a refresh. So like you said, that the potential for starting new things, starting over again is very high. And it's going to be a big, I think, shift or a big change in a lot of things, everything. It can be personally. So when we talk about like our own lives, there's a lot of that potential there. But then looking at the world, everything that's going on, we have to ask this question: like, how can things turn when we get this kind of big reset button, or a big just expansive opening, moving, restarting kind of energy happening that is fundamentally playful? Too, I would like to emphasize that. Fundamentally playful, inquisitive, and joyous. It's the laughing dragon. So even though it sounds destructive and it sounds kind of scary, it's a child. It's a baby dragon that's just giggling and exploring its own boundaries.
Well, I like hearing that there's some energy of playfulness.
Yeah.
That's coming down the pike. That works for me. And it also seems to me that we've gone from this very inward, personal, clicky water rabbit to this effusive, outward, laughing, and impersonal wood dragon.
Yes. Yeah, it's impersonal.
So we've gone from like the ultimate yin of personal and all that entails to its polar opposite of it's not personal. Like dude, don't take it personally. Like what happens in the next year, all y'alls, don't take it personally. Like learn not to take it personally. In the energy of learning to not take things personally, it sounds like it's going to be all around us. Do I have that right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way to understand it. Like, especially in the yin and yang polarized opposites of how, like, the water rabbit is taking things really personally. That's a deeply personal, like deep personal wounds. And then the opposite, it flips of just like, this just childlike baby energy hasn't learned any of that yet. It forgot all that stuff. It hasn't learned it yet. So if you're in the middle and if you're entrenched in all that stuff, taking things deeply personally, and then you've got this energy that comes along and might rearrange things, might kick over your Legos, it might be easy to take that very personally and then get very discombobulated in the year because, we're moving forward in their cycle and we're dragging our past along with us. So when we're confronted with this...
It's always like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're moving forward and we're dragging our damn past along with us, which is why thinking about the energies of being able to be present and not take things personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like spiritual development to me.
For sure.
Right? Because like all the great, well, not all the great, but look, the few great spiritual traditions that I've looked at, they all seem to point at don't take things so personally. This me, this I, that is a fiction that we've created, it's a fiction that we've created. And it's a great form of suffering, right? The Buddhists talk about this, right? All kinds of traditions talk about this. That's this identity that we built. It gives us something to navigate the world with. It'll help you get to the airport, but it also is a great form of suffering.
Yes.
In other ways. And it sounds like this is a year that might help us to take ourselves a little less seriously.
Absolutely. The opportunity to kind of break open all that stuff and come back to what Shunryu Suzuki called a beginner's mind. This is a very beginner's mind kind of a year. It's a very, what some traditions might call like a direct realization, meaning that despite the complexity of our minds and our stories and our feelings and our conflicting emotions, there is a spacious quality of perception. The nature of the mind is actually this kind of sky-like open space in which all this complexity arises, but no amount of clouds obscure the sun. No amount of clouds actually damage the sky. This is like the sky-like nature of mind and this fresh immediacy. There's an immediacy to that quality. Like, again, that flash bulb going off. There's a freshness all year, which is great. A opportunity to drop all that stuff, drop our baggage, and to, again, kind of just fly free. This is like again, flying free, bursting up into the heavens. And all that crusty just stuff that we drag with us, it's going to be very much of a burden this year. And it's imperative of the year to basically just and I think everybody, the whole culture, the whole world, everybody who's arguing and at war has to just drop all of this stuff and kind of take a moment, pause, and then like start up again. And all that stuff's still there, but it's like that opportunity is there. So I'm optimistic that there is a potential for change, because there's a lot of stuff coming as well. We've got the election coming. We got all this kind of big circus drama that's going to be on the way.
Okay. All right. Well, is this a good place to start going into the influence on the different animals?
Yeah, I think we can definitely go through 12 animals. I think let's see, anything else in terms of the nature of the wood dragon. The last thing I suppose I would say about the wood dragon is this term, the Yo, which means like free and easy wandering. One of Zhuangzi's, actually one of his first kind of teachings in the Zhuangzi is this free and easy wandering. And again, this is like, there is explorative, restarting, a refresh kind of quality, and there's an ease. Again, Wu Wei is very much kind of theme of the year, I think, because that's one of the only ways we can deal with this kind of energy. The wood dragon can be potentially very discombobulating, very, very disruptive. There could be accidents, clumsy mishaps.
It sounds like it could be clumsy, a young clumsy dragon.
Yeah, I think there's different ways we can deal with that, but one is you have to relax and I guess go with the flow. And that's always true to a degree, but there's, again, this energy. The energy is so big and so forceful and so expansive that it's something we have to ride. You have to kind of let the wind guide the sails, and you just have to kind of go with it and see where it takes you. I think the energy of this year is going to take us somewhere, and we don't know. And it's really important to back up and then kind of ask ourselves, like, what do we think about a year that's unpredictable, unknown, a wild card, a joker, that's going to break things up. It's going to change the direction of things. It's going to restart. It's going to refresh. It's going to take us somewhere. We don't know where it is, and we're not in control. This is energy. It's important to understand that we're not in control of this year. We don't know what's going to happen, and it could be bumpy, but it could also be extremely awakening and enlivening and very good for a lot of things. And I hope that's the opportunity we have, and I hope we can all step up to the opportunity of the year. And then that, I guess, is a good way to talk about then each of us go through the 12 animals and talk about how do we each ride the energy of the year.
Yeah, ride the energy of the year. So I just want to say one thing. You said it's going to be a wild, chaotic year. You just have to let go of the sails and see what happens. As a sailor, I would say you are not letting go of your sails. As a sailor, you do not want to let go of your sails. But here's what you want to do as a sailor, especially in gusty conditions. You want to trim those sails, and you want to be constantly trimming those sails. You want to be very attentive to what's happening at any particular moment in the circumstances and waters that you're in, and adjust your weight and adjust your sails accordingly. And when you do that, number one, you stay right side up, which is a good thing. And number two, you go really, really fast, and it's really, really fun. So all y'all's out there, don't let go of your sails. And we'll get into what influences that you might expect. You want to be able to trim those sails. And, like with any practice, be attentive to what's happening in the moment, because we're going to have some breeze to work with. Pretty fun when you're a sailor.
Yeah, it's a good clarification. And that being able to, fine tune and to know exactly, and that's a give and take, right? I'm not a sailor, but I imagine that there's times when you have to ease up and times when you have to pull back, and it's a kind of like, it's a dance.
It's a dance.
Yeah. And then, so involved, and that's the yin and yang. That's relaxation and it's inaction, action. That's the whole flow.
It's good practice for acupuncture.
Oh yeah. It's, but we each do that differently, and we're each going to respond to that differently. So as we go through the 12 animals, this year more than any, though, I kind of have to back up and say, again, there's an unknown and a challenging quality to define anything. It's one of the hardest years to talk about because, again, the dragon is defined by being indefinable. That's its nature. It's ineffable. So how do we respond to it? It's not easy to say.
I think what you're saying here is expect the unexpected.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what should the rats expect or not expect?
So this is a great year for rats. Yeah, I would say this is probably the best year in a long time for rats. So the rat, dragon, and monkey are a trine of compatibility. And the rat and dragon are kind of like a telescope and a microscope. The dragon is the biggest, most zoomed out quality. The dragon is the only one that can fly of all 12 animals. Roosters can't fly. So the dragon has this expansive view of heaven. It's a symbol of the heavens. And the rat is the most zoomed in. It's like a microscope. It's the most attentive to the fine details and to the little things. And this is a year in which we're all the little things are blown open. The dragon's flying over them. So the rat is able to kind of, because it's in that compatibility trine, the expansive and the enlivening quality is going to bring out all of the rat's best inner qualities, all the good social, fun-loving, and funny. Rats are very funny. There is a humorous aspect to the rat. All that stuff will be brought out. But the rat will be able to ride that and actually make use of the big energy because they are able to attune to the fine details. So for rats, I would say a great year for a goal. Like I think they're maybe out of all the 12 able to make the most out of this energy. So having, knowing that, having a really good intentions, goals, and making a plan, and then being able to fine tune along the way, and as well to, again, bring people together and bring other people into that. It's been a dark few years for the rats. So there's going to be a tentativeness, so I would encourage rats to come out of the shell, come out of the bomb shelter and strut. There's a few, I always say, who gets to strut during certain years. This is a year for rats to strut and bring out their highest aspirations.
Go rat.
Yeah. For the ox.
Yeah.
It's I'd say kind of a neutral year for oxes. They share a lot in common with dragons in the terms of the strength. They're probably the two biggest of the symbols. Dragon is a very strong energy. Again, the strength of nature. It's the strength of a storm or a flood, but the ox strength is able to weather that. Like oxes are one of the characters that every year are a little bit absolved from all the difficulties, because that's the nature of the ox, is just to keep plowing forward. So in that sense, they'll probably won't be too disruptive, and the expansive nature, the strength, the moving quality as well, the enlivening quality. The ox is yin earth by nature, and so this yang wood quality is very enlivening. So again, that refreshing quality will be very appreciated by oxes. I feel like oxes in their life will have a great refresh, restart, and enlivening quality to the year. And to the only problem is that this energy is a little bit too joyous. It's a kind of surprising and unexpected, and even a little bit silly and playful and childlike. And the ox is a kind of a stern and serious by nature. So wood oxes and oxes born in monkey hour or something like that can make use of that playful silliness, but it's a bit against the ox character. Again, for oxes, it's just plow forward, just keep moving, but watch out for being working too hard, because the energy is so strong. And once oxes get going, they could really overdo it.
Yeah. I was just thinking loosening up, thinking about the influence of wood on earth. You were talking about the roots going in, loosening up the soil. So ox being that yin earth, it's a chance to let that joyfulness and silliness and effusiveness of this wood dragon loosen you up a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go buy a new hat. That's fun.
Yeah. Or to just change directions, change things up, because the ox is all about routine and the same old thing, and that's where they thrive, is in that kind of structured routine. And this is a year to change directions and to start something new, which oxes have challenged to do that, because that's just goes against their nature.
Catalyze that ox.
Yeah. Tiger. So that's me. The tiger is often depicted fighting with the dragon over the ring of power. And who's seen this in traditional Chinese art? The tiger is kind of considered a terrestrial dragon, and there's a competitive nature between the two because they're very similar. And the tiger is striped. We have to remember that. And the light stripe is very dragon-like. The dark stripe is very snake-like. It's very hidden. It's very still. But then the light stripe of the tiger is very dragon-like. And then tigers are also yang wood. That's their inner nature. So this year is going to be very forcefully empowering for tigers, to a point where it might even be too much. I think tigers are going to have a kind of like, especially in the coming out of the water element and coming out of the murkiness of the last year, there's going to be like, all right, time to get a mission, time to get shit done, time to really get moving, and that can be good. But again, watching out for breaking things, to getting too forceful, too compulsive, impulsive. There's just competitive, wanting to get too in control. As long as they can rein that in and have some kind of, again, invoke and bring forward again that the restraint. The tigers have a really strong capacity for restraint. And it's going to be dynamic, exciting, energizing year. It'll be more extroverted, more social, bringing out, again, that light stripe, that lightheartedness. Because tigers are that back and forth. They can be very moody, very dark, but we can also be very outgoing and very bright as well. So the brighter side, the light stripe, is going to be encouraged. So it's like bringing that out, getting out of the cave, being more social, being more outgoing. The great leap forward, all that stuff is all empowered.
Great leap forward. You know, it sounds to me, as we're having this discussion about the influence of the wood dragon, it sounds like it is catalytic. That whatever you've kind of got cooking, whatever is simmering, whatever is coming close to being emergent, whatever you got going on, this dragon is going to strap some rocket boosters on it and light it off like a Falcon 9.
Yeah, for better or worse. So that's why I say if we can know that kind of energy going into it and have good aspirations, and as well have somewhat of a, I don't want to say a plan, because like I say, good luck with plans this year. This is a year where plans are not going to go the way you thought, but...
Sure, but still, having an intention, having a sense, having a goal, having something that you can strap this energy onto to move you in a direction that you want to go, who knows what you're going to find there. But by the same token, you could have this energy hit you and you don't know what you want. You're going to just get more disoriented. If you've got a sense of focus,
yeah,
it sounds like it could be very helpful. Or maybe I'm just talking like a damn rooster.
Yeah. Well, to use a sailing metaphor, I think it's somebody said, I forget who, but if you don't know what direction you're going, then no wind is favorable.
That's right.
Yeah. So know what direction you're going and then fine tune, especially for the tiger, because the tiger is like a rocket launcher. That's like the tiger is that pouncing energy of the tiger on the, pouncing on the prey. This for tigers this year might be like the, coyote strapping itself onto the Acme rocket. It's it could be launched pretty hard.
Okay. All right, tigers, be careful. What about the rabbits? What about those wascally wabbits?
So it's an interesting year. It's potentially very auspicious. Yeah.
Who, by the way, I would love to barbecue. I'd just love to barbecue the rabbit, actually, at this point. But tell me some good news for rabbits, if there is good news.
Yeah, hopefully we haven't talked too negatively about rabbits. Maybe the confusion of the last year, but the rabbit. So again, we have to remember that the dragon is the outcome of the rabbit. So my advice for rabbits last year was to be as rabbity as possible, which is to nest, basically, and to really tend to all those relationships and making secure resources. And if rabbits have done that well, and if they have done that well, then this year will be excellent, because it's time to bring all that stuff out. It's basically all the dreams, hopes, the rabbits, everything that the rabbit works for in terms of their dynamics, it's all going to come to fruition. So this is the year when all the stuff, everything from last year is going to be brought out. Everything that hasn't been resolved, it will come out. And that could be, if it hasn't been worked through, if it hasn't been resolved, then it's going to come out in a dark way. And if it has been worked through, then it's going to come out in a beautiful and creative way, and transformative.
Transformative, really. Transforms from rabbit to dragon. So it sounds like a very potent year for the rabbit. kind of depending on how you've done your work and where you positioned yourself.
Yeah, but you have to remember that rabbits are not dragons. So even though it's the outcome of it, they're still by nature a lot more internalized and not as. But there's a confident, authoritative, and very forceful nature to rabbits, and that's going to come out. So I think rabbits are going to be empowered and feel a lot more like dragons this year. So expecting things to go pretty well if, again, all the work has been done.
What about the dragons?
Similar story in the sense of it's dragons in their own year. It all has to do with how you understand and contend with your own dragon nature, because it's again like that, the coyote being strapped to the rocket.
I love that image.
Yeah, everything is getting empowered, and everything. All those aspects of yourself, of the dragon that are big and expansive, are going to be even more so. So it's either can attain great heights or open the gates of hell, depending, like the energy of the dragon kind of unleashed and in their own year. So dragons be more confident, more self-assured, more ambitious, more adventurous, more outgoing. So again, having that intention, having some kind of an idea, this is the kind of year to do the things. The past year was not particularly good for the dragon's ambition. It's kind of the fire was kind of doused pretty strongly. So this year again gets that big boost. So if you have a vision for the year, you can accomplish it and make it happen. Again, self-reflection, restraint, and watch out for all the small details. Don't fly over your own experience. Don't fly over other people's experience. Don't check in, making sure to slow down and pay attention to the details along the way, because the dragon, by nature, most visionary, the biggest view, the only one that can fly. So they can fly over all the little creatures down below. So it can be disastrous if they don't have that kind of self-reflection and don't have that kind of restraint.
A little restraint is great power. This sounds like Spider-Man, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep, that's a good theme for the dragon this year. There's some responsibility as well. And anytime it's in your own year, it's like all of the best qualities, you have more capacity to bring them out and to express them, but then also your darkest qualities. So the more in touch with your dark qualities, more intentional you are about bringing out and expressing your best virtues, the better it goes. And if you don't, then your own year can be challenging for that reason.
Having a thriving, profitable practice is one of the most healing things you can do as a healthcare practitioner, because a robust business is the ultimate expression of vital qi, and that's the heart of our medicine. I'm Julie Bairdontlock, and I help practitioners grow nourishing, profitable, authentic businesses that embody the generative cycle of Chinese medicine. This isn't about all yang all the time. It's about expanding your own internal capacity, growing collaborative relationships with your patients for ethical patient retention, and marketing as an extension of this medicine, not a necessary evil. You already know that everything is connected in your patients' lives and bodies. The same is true for your business. When we align your systems, your schedule, your pricing, and your offerings with you, we create flow, which means more spaciousness, more impact, and more joy. When you are in the flow, fully resourced in terms of qi, time, and money, your business becomes a source of healing, not just for your patients, but for you. Let's grow something rooted, radiant, and real. Visit lifeflowconsulting.com to learn more.
Okay. What about the snakes? Yeah, snakes.
Snake and dragon are an interesting yin and yang pair as well. They're the kind of center of the zodiac. The dragon is big, expansive yang, and snake is big, spacious yin. The snake energy is very still. Then it has that striking capacity. It can lie still and not move for days on end, and then one strike and take out the mouse that it's been hunting. The wood dragon will turn into wood snake. And the wood snake is a very different energy. It's very shimmery, spacious, light, peaceful, still. Sort of having this big flash bang of the wood dragon, and then this kind of open, spacious hosting energy of the wood snake. And so the snakes probably have the most capacity to just to do what we were talking about, which is to just ride the wave, but not as much in a practical sense like the rat. The rat really can bring out and, make it happen in a worldly sense. For the snake, it's much more like just sit back and watch the show. It's like snakes have that inner battle of wanting to, whether or not they want to actually be in the world or out of the world, to participate or not. Snakes is the kind of energy that wants to just kind of exit. And this year, it's a tricky one because
what's the opposite of exiting? Because everything's going outward.
Yeah. It's to be very integrated and in the world and of the world. So snakes, I think this year can really join the party and really can go into it without being of it, without really getting tangled up in all of the potential chaos. The snake, it's kind of a waiting year, I suppose, for snakes, because next year is going to be the snake year, and like that's going to be the year to, again, like I said, bring out all the best inner qualities. This year is kind of like a preparation for that.
Okay, so for snakes this year, the stuff that you need to work on it, because next year you get to bring some manifestation.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What about the horses?
So yeah, tough year for horses, I think. The horse yang fire energy. Horses like to run free. It's a kind of there's a wildness to the horse energy, but also a work ethic that thrives on doing things. So in that sense, it's an empowering year. There's a lot of energy available to do things, but it's also, the horse is easily kind of discombobulated by the energy of this year. Unfortunately, it's a bit too much to the point where it will create a bit of that bucking bronco quality, getting a little bit flustered, frustrated, that clumsy quality we talked about. So being a little bit more, applying this in general to life, relationships, projects, things like that, that there is like a capacity to get a little too, like maybe a little bit more accident prone, a little bit more clumsy, a little bit more discoordinated, uncoordinated. So it might be challenging, but it's also creative, and there's a fun and gregarious and humorous side to the horse that I think will thrive in the year, and especially wood horses, earth horses. The challenge is, of course, like just burnout again. Like the horse, especially again in the yang fire, has been pretty doused by the water, and I think the busyness, the productivity that horses desire accomplishing has not been available, and now it's like again gets a rocket strapped to their back, so it's like going too hard out the gate and burning out really fast, or having way too over ambitious. So being realistic and paying attention to self-care so we don't burn out. Again, letting other people that help the social fun-loving part of the horse will be the kind of savior, I think, for horses.
So a little challenging for horses, but there'll be some energy, and they're not stuck in all that dark water, so they're going to like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just watch out for, again, might get messy and competitive. Again, it's something, say, for the tiger as well, tigers and horses and dragons, watching out for being too competitive with yourself, with other people, with your own goals, everything. Like, calm down, relax.
When you're competitive, though, having an extra boost of energy, it's like, okay, watch this. I get it. It's
true. Yeah. Competitions, it can be healthy and good. And I think that's the nature in how we sometimes progress and get better at things, is because we want to compete and test our skills against challenges.
It's how we get better.
So that's definitely available. Yeah, it's how we get better. So that's important. I think the competitive is more, the danger of it is just the aggressive side of competition, of like being too challenging and being too like, bring out the good side of competition, like to use it as a way of honing our skills and getting better, not just to win and beat down others. That's like the darker side, is just want to win, or do anything to win, or do anything to get ahead. That can happen.
Use it to hone your skill.
Yeah.
Very good. How about the goats?
Goats, also a tough year. So horses and goats, I'd say, might be the hardest for them.
Tough for barnyard animals, huh?
Yeah. The goat, we talk about as being kind of the idealist and a bit of a perfectionist and a bit fussy over details. And, they want things. The goat is like goats and rabbits are peacemakers. treaty signers. They want to bring everybody together. It's all about the harmony and flow and the herd, the egalitarian nature of cooperation and things like that. So when you've got this energy that's kind of just like kicking down the door, and it might not go so well. So it might be easy to get frustrated. Things aren't lining up. Things aren't going smoothly. But I think that's why we need goats the most, because the energy in this year is potentially that disrupting, that we need the peacemakers, we need the treaty signers, we need goats to help bring people together. Everybody's a little bit more aloof, a little bit more distant, a little bit more kind of in their own world, going off on their own adventure. That goats, bring people together, and especially through ideas. So goats can have a tough year, but in demand. We need goats.
I like that. A tough year, but in demand.
Yeah.
A rough year, but man, do we need the capacity of the goat to help moderate the dragon.
Goats will be challenged. It'll be a very challenging year, but I guess it could be very rewarding in that sense, because they'll be able to put all of their ideals, so goats will be challenged in their self-cultivation, I think. So all the ideals, all of the qualities that define the goat will be put to the test. So you'll find out what you're made of, and
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. What do you do if you're trying to make everything harmonized? What do you do with
what do you do with the damn baby Huey wood dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So breaking eggs, the goats will help us to make an omelet.
All right. Great. The monkeys and dragons. Let me think about that. Monkeys and dragons. That sounds weird.
Yeah. But they're part of the trine the monkey, rat, and dragon are a trine of compatibility, and very aligned with the year. So I think this is the best year in a long time for monkeys. Monkey has had a hard time. The tiger year, that's their opposite. And then again, the monkey is a kind of very active, very imaginative, very playful, inquisitive. Again, we have the image of the monkey swinging from branch to branch. It's a very active and dynamic energy. So also kind of pent up, and in the water rabbit year, not really able to swing free and play as much. The monkey too is a kind of jokester and a kind of trickster energy, and can have challenges with the kind of social dynamics of the rabbit. Very easily make a mess of that. So this year, I think time to let it all out. Again, the danger is going on overdrive. Like all of a sudden you're allowed to go to feel like empowered to.
You can be a monkey again.
Swing. Yeah, be a monkey. Go like really, really like break out of the mold, change things up, go on adventures, take risks, make mischief, all that stuff. Like have fun. It's that playful wiggling energy I think goes really well. It's just like my advice to the monkeys is just don't swing off a cliff, basically. Like don't go overboard. I think that's a theme again with all the yang characters we'll see come up again and again. Is yang characters by nature have that forceful, expansive energy. That's the nature of yang. So when that's empowered, you just like have to take a step back and not overdo it.
So monkeys don't get out over the edges of your skis.
Yes.
Okay. How about roosters? How about my clan? How about the roosters?
Yes. Yeah. Much, much better year than last, I will say. So the dragon and the rooster are often talked about as symbols as the emperor and the empress. The dragon being the emperor, the empress is the rooster, the yin nature of the empress. And so it's considered to be a kind of auspicious pair. It's a Confucian marriage pair. And one of the cardinal directions too, when we talk about the four emblematic animals in Chinese medicine, dragon and rooster, tiger, and then the tortoise. But the rooster, all the best qualities I say of the rooster are brought out in the year. So it empowers clarity, precision, confidence, being more inspired, more alert, more kind of forthright. All of the like challenges of last year are kind of refreshed, and your natural abilities will actually be productive and be welcomed and received. So for you mentioned last year not being the same person that you were last year and having all of these things kind of decompose and fall away. So I think the restarting quality is time to then, like, well, my teacher would say solemn for roosters, to solemnize all that stuff. It was just to recognize and have that moment of I acknowledge all these things. I'm done with them. They're finished. And now we move on. And now we bring out sort of roosters and puff up the chest a little. I think we haven't talked too much about like practical things, career things, but for all the signs that I've mentioned, and to which I think the year is auspicious, but I think maybe the rooster especially, career and productivity and accomplishing goals and things like that. The warning, again, as with most of them, is to just not get too focused, monofocused or monomaniacal, or in contrast to last year. So things were challenged last year, and then things are different this year. It's like two, I said tirades or crusades. No tirades or crusades.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is there's plenty of energy. You can make really good use of it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overdo it. I mean, do it and use all this extra stuff. Use the extra available energy that you've got. Just be a little cautious that you don't get too far into the stratosphere.
Yeah. Reoccurring theme for a lot is, again, that attention to push and pull. And the crane gong fu is all about balance. And like the crane standing on one foot, finding that balance to then have those precise strikes, precision. So being able to see the pressure points, the structural weaknesses, and things like that, and then being able to peck accordingly. So the rooster's analysis and the intelligence of the rooster is the ability, like the rat, and why, again, rats thrive in this year as well, is that attention to detail and that ability to be very precise in the way that you understand and think and articulate things. So having that, and then the dragon year is so much movement and so much openness and so much energy that's coming up, being able to, like you said, focus the sails very accordingly. So it can go very well.
Okay. So use the goals, use the focus, be precise, strike hard. There'll be plenty of energy to do that with.
Yeah, and I think leadership, there's a couple animals that are come forward as leaders in the year in different ways. The rooster, dragons, of course, but the rooster, I think, we talked about, but in a different way.
Okay. What about the dogs? Go Huskies.
Yeah. Another challenging year. The dog and dragon are opposites, and both represent different aspects of young Earth. The dog is all about territory and protecting the Earth, protective and very loyal energy of the dog, while the dragon is the opposite. It's breaking away from the Earth, it's flying free, and it's not loyal to anything. Dragons are only loyal to themselves and their own ambitious, extraordinary, adventures. So the dog has a tough time with that. But like I say, every year, whenever we come across our opposite, like we've talked about, it's a good year for that kind of self-reflection, because it's a mirror. And when you're confronted with a mirror, you might see things that are hard to see, hard to look at, but there's an opportunity there spiritually. So whenever you come across a year that's your opposite, it's going to be challenging.
But it's also a tremendous opportunity. I mean, I'm just reflecting on this past year for me. Fire rooster, water rabbit. In some ways it really dampened things down. But again, the opportunity for a kind of self-reflection beyond thinking mind, but a self-reflection at a much different level. I don't even know what level I could call it. I don't know what the word is for it. Definitely an opportunity with work boots on.
Yeah. And especially in the case you had last year, and for Earth dogs, that's the one. Earth dogs are going to be the most challenged. So it's going to, your opposite years will bring up a lot of that stuff, and especially the case if it's your 60-60 polar opposite, then it'll even deeper stuff. That's like the deepest stuff, and I think it's not really ready for it until, I guess, 66 would be the age. You're prepared to look at all that deep stuff. It's like it's because it's not easy, but it's also, again, a tremendous opportunity to shed and to let go of all that stuff and to work through it, digest it. And the dragon is a digesting year. It's the energy of digestion, digest the universe. But the dog is the...
You just mentioned something about coming around to that 66th year. It's a kind of potency in it because it's the opposite. And it occurs to me that in our culture, at least here in the United States, traditionally 65 was the year that people retired. And then 66 was that year of, okay, now that you're retired, you're going in this other phase of life, and it's different. You're like out of the cycles of productivity that brought you up to that point. And so this, that traditionally would have been a year that you had just retired. That's a gigantic shift. Yeah, coming up to that 66th year, there's some mojo. I hadn't thought about it in terms of traditionally, yeah.
Yeah, so for any Earth dogs out there, it'll be in a lot of traditional societies, we talk about these different phases of life, and we've kind of lost that. I mean, we have, of course, retirement. I guess that's a new phase, but these different rites of passage, like in Indian society, you have like your upbringing and education, you have a householder phase where you're contributing to society, and then the end of life is always supposed to be the spiritual side, where now you've raised family or you've done all the work, and now it's time to really find out who you are and to die well and to go into like the kind of more spiritual side where you can let go of all that worldly stuff. And that's a good, that's a good kind of, maybe it's a catalyst or a marker for that, a shift, astrologically for that kind of a phase. But these kind of years are those kinds of, for opposites. So for dogs this year, it's that kind of like, there's those years that come along where you get to look in the mirror, like you've been going through, and then time to look in the mirror and reassess. The dog, it's like, so that is the ultimate like following energy. And so this is a year when, everybody's empowered to be more like a dragon. Everybody's going to be a little bit more aloof on their own, like wanting to get out and wanting to kind of be a little selfish. Like the dragon energy is a little bit selfish, not necessarily in a bad way. We could all stand to be selfish every once in a while, but the dog, it's a challenge because their instinct is to take care of others. So that's basically the focus for dogs, again, is just, again, the spiritual side, but then also relationships.
Yeah, buckle up. Yeah, you got some work.
And to know that distance and disconnection, distractedness, don't let that foster into feelings of like betrayal or failure on your own part or anything like that, because that's where it's society, that's where the energy is pushing everybody to be a little bit more distracted, a little bit more disconnected, a little bit more aloof, a little bit more selfish. So don't take it personally. Again, we talked about this is a year to not take things personally, and I would say especially for the dog. But to get out of your comfort zone, I would say like, the dog has like an adventurous, artistic quality as well. A lot of really interesting, unique personalities. Celebrities are dogs. So you see there's this lone wolf quality to the dog, and that might come out. It might be a time to kind of break away and be a lone wolf. So pigs.
Pigs, last but not least.
Pretty good year. What we haven't talked about yet is a kind of indulgent side to the dragon. There's like, again, that devouring energy. The dragon wants to eat up life, eat experience. And the pigs are similar. There's an indulgent side to the pig. So that, again, the potential for certain characters to go overboard in certain ways. The pig could definitely have that push to go a little too hard. So again, like the best qualities, pigs can be very hardworking, and they're very humanitarian. They're very caring and very, again, social. So a lot of those positive qualities will be brought out, empowered, and will be a really great year for everything kind of like gets a boost in that sense. But it may be a whirlwind, and it may, like I said, leave you a little hungover. But great for everything: productivity, work, personal projects, relationships, social stuff. It's all pretty good. Think big and think helping everybody. The pig wants to help everybody. It's like the generosity of the pig is unmatched, and the dragon energy is just overflowing and expansive. So the bigger your vision for helping others and contributing, the better the year will go. But watch out for giving too much. So pigs can be too generous. They can, again, overflow. They'll give people the shirt off their back. So don't overdo it. Last year, again, really like cozy inward nesting energy. And I imagine that's also very good energy for the pig, but that can be a little bit like damp, stagnant kind of energy the last year. So there's a imperative to open that up, aerate things, get things refreshed, and to kind of get things moving again. So pigs might, I think, feel a little bit stuck, a little bit stagnant, a little bit bogged down, maybe a little bit like, I don't know if, the darkness and the kind of murkiness of last year. It's time to bring out the fun, time to bring out the humor, time to hit the refresh button. And so I think pigs will be helpful for that in the sense of having a party.
I've heard you say through all these animals, and just in general, this is a year to be outward, to be social, to have parties, laugh, have fun, be expansive, maybe a little bit of a megalomaniac from time to time, because, like, why not? You can. pull out the feathered boa, whatever turns you on. But there's a real opportunity in this next year to lighten things up and to take things that are important to us and again, like strap on a rocket booster and get some mileage out of it.
Like the relationship quality of the rabbit, very close, very internal, and very kind of like Godfather. It's all like the family, very close. Like in this year, clicky. Yeah, don't mess with the family.
And clicky, super clicky. This year is going to be more like a rave than a bunch of clicky high school chicks, blah, 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 spilling tea.
Yeah, this is like a big party, rave, and where everybody's it's like a universalizing energy where you see everybody as family, everybody interconnected. You don't see those same, like the divisions,
That's powerful. That's really powerful. A universalizing energy comes with this year. That is such good news.
Yeah, so last year, again, we see this push, the dynamic of yin and yang. So in the rabbit, you get very, very close, very distinct and divided kind of energies. It's the rabbit burrow. It's like a very small select group into the rabbit burrow and hide and protect ourselves from everything else. And then the dragon is just breaking down all the walls, especially the wood. That wood is like cracking the egg, and just so distinction, borders, boundaries, all that stuff is broken open and universalized, and everything is kind of expansive. And again, like the sky, this year it's like coming out of that rabbit burrow and just seeing the open sky.
Maybe we should go to Burning Man this year.
Yeah, it's a very Burning Man kind of year, I think. And it's going to be, like I said, it's the quality of the year is hard to talk about. In essence, it's quite simple. Like, again, it's just that kind of almost like an explosion, like that flash bulb going off. The dragon itself, doesn't have all these distinct qualities that we can talk about like a rabbit or a monkey or something like that. Like, we know what those are like, but we don't know what dragons are like, and we don't know what they're for. My teacher used to say that every animal is like a toolbox. You open it up, it's got all these skills and things in it, but when you open the dragon toolbox, it's just got a dragon in it. We don't know. We don't know what the dragons are for.
Okay, I like that. Ooh, wild card. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what the energy is. It's not something we can really talk about or understand, but we can say it's like a force of nature. I think this is a year. I mean, we can say it in some way about every year, of course, but it's going to be a year to remember. And I think it coincides, of course, we've got a lot of war going on. We've got a lot of tension happening in the world, a lot of big political changes, elections in here. We've got elections all over the world. We've got a lot of these big things like artificial intelligence, all these things introduced into society. They're also wild cards. And so I think it's going to be like, I think, a watershed year for a lot of reasons, but I have no idea what that's going to look like or what's going to happen. And there's no predicting any of it. I would like to think that it's positive. Like I said, it can sound scary and it's a little bit intimidating that we have this kind of wild card energy that's expansive and potentially a little bit destructive. But I do think it's a renewing energy. I do think but it might not be apparent at first. So I think like that refreshing and renewing quality might not be obvious until after the fact.
Till a little later. Well, I'll tell you what I'm taking away from our conversation today. What I am taking away is think big.
Think big, yes.
Think big. Just think big.
Yeah, we have to have vision.
Have vision and be prepared for big. Oh, okay. I don't even know what that means other than, well, something else you said. It's very hard to predict. So think big and be prepared to be surprised. And then we'll come back next year and see what it had to say for us and see what we did with it as we explore the next coming snake year about a year from now. How's that sound?
Yeah, and then the snake is very different. It's kind of like a calm, especially the wood snake, and it's very spacious and very open and not a lot of movement at all, very little movement.
Good. So then we can integrate the dragon year next year. Integrating
it, yeah. And there comes times.
Yeah, but this year we get to fly free.
There come times in these cycles where we get these refreshes. So that's what the wood element does, especially young wood. The characters that are have that kind of like forward moving energy. The tiger is one of them. The dragon is one.
All right. Well, as a fire rooster, I think I'm looking forward to it. So as ever, thank you for joining me here at the new year. I hope it goes well for you. Gong Xi Fa Cai.
Yes, Happy New Year. Hope it goes well.
All right. Good luck and get rich.
Sounds good. Yep. We'll see you next year.
Sounds good. Last year, Gregory warned me that us fire roosters would be in for a rough go in the water rabbit year. This year, it's the earth dogs that get to look into the mirror of their opposite. It's rarely easy to look with inquisitiveness and compassion at the opposite of what we define ourselves against. So much more comfortable to band together with like-minded folks and stand on the right side against the enemy. It feels satisfying too, doesn't it? But, as Chip Chase was fond of saying, all solutions are temporary. And the breathe in, breathe out of yin and yang, it's guaranteed to turn us into something that we did not expect. There's always some opportunity arising that previously was hidden. Often enough, it's a moment of connective grace if you can puzzle your way through it. Lace up those work boots. You're going to need them. Well, here we are at the end of this episode. If you've listened up to this point, you're either a rabid fan of Qiological or the forward button on your podcast player stopped working. If you are indeed a fan of the podcast, you can help us to bring new episodes to our community of practitioners by supporting us with a membership or a one-time contribution. Details, of course, are on the website. That's it for today, friends. Join us again next Tuesday for another thoughtful episode of Qiological.